So today we heard from Andrew Berry. It's actually the first time we've heard from Andrew in a little while. I was trying to think. I don't think we've heard from him really since the draft. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but we haven't heard from Andrew regardless in a little while. And so we're going to talk about a few things that kind of stood out to us as we talked to him and some of the news of the day here. Kind of a news of the day podcast for you to kick off your Wednesday. So the one quote that kind of stood out to me with Andrew, and this is a guy that picks his words very carefully when he talks to us, and you're not going to catch him saying something that he shouldn't say or doesn't want to say. He mentioned Odell Beckham. That interview in the Wall Street Journal came out on Monday. Now, it was very much the interview happened 2 weeks ago. It happened before the NFLPA agreement. We talked about it on our Tuesday pod a little bit. Mary Kay, you wrote about it as well. But I thought the thing that stood out to me, and you can find this on cleveland.com/Browns also, is Andrew Berry basically said Odell needs to be more conscientious with his words. I thought that was a really interesting thing for the GM to say, not just to say to Odell, but to say publicly. So Mary Kay, when you heard that, and of course you decided to write about it as well, I guess what was your first thought?
Zing. I mean, I listen for those kinds of things. And when he said that, I thought, wow, that is like the first time I really ever heard anybody say that Odell is a very popular, very powerful guy. He makes headlines. Everything that he says goes viral, and therefore he has to be very conscientious with his words. I thought it was very significant that Andrew Berry said that, because this is a football team that wants things to be very team protecting. They want this to be all about what is good for the Cleveland Browns. And I just thought that was a very professional but very significant way of Andrew Berry to handle that. And they've talked to Odell a lot of different times. They've had a lot of dialogue with him. And I'm sure they said to him, you kind of need to be careful with how you say things and what you're saying.
Yeah, I remember when Odell's first press conferences, I think it was actually during camp. It had to be during camp because he was hardly there during OTAs. But he talked about how the media reacts when he does things and says things, and how everything he says becomes a headline. And this is kind of the other side of that. He understands all that. He knows that when he says things, he knows that when he talked about that in the Wall Street Journal, that it was, when it did come out, it was going to be noticed. He knew that. So yeah, I was Andrew Berry kind of providing the other side of that and hopefully getting the message across. I wonder if he used that word when he actually sat down with Odell, because that's a good way to kind of say something forceful without really sounding like, hey, watch your mouth and not so many words. But yeah, it's good that he said that. And it's good that it seems like they know that Odell needs to kind of watch what he does this year, because you don't want a situation like last year when every week it seemed like there was a new Odell story.
Yeah, I want to read the exact quote here, just from Andrew. Having a player of Odell's stature on the roster, obviously he generates a lot of attention. Odell is very mindful that he has to be conscientious with his words. So just to kind of clarify, he's sort of saying Odell knows that, but it also sounded very much like when Andrew said it, he was kind of saying it as well. Like, Odell, you've got to be conscientious. He's saying Odell knows it, but I'm also sort of reinforcing this when I say this publicly on a Zoom call.
I think he was trying to say, I reminded Odell that he needs to be very mindful of this situation. I think that he was trying to say that, in the dialogue that we've had over the summer and since he's been back, we have talked to him about how he needs to be conscientious with his words.